Hello, everyone. I'm here to go through all my learnings with you through performing and completing my personal growth project, and most importantly, how my learnings will be implemented to my future leadership roles. To begin, I selected my topic of learning to write Arabic, specifically the alphabet, due to me wanting to learn and speak the language in my near future. This topic came to interest because I want to be able to speak many languages, and also I have many friends who speak it. So growing up, I always wanted to do so as well and understand them. However, learning the alphabet first always helps in being able to speak by making the process a little easier. So I practiced writing out the alphabet and learning the written form meanings. I also did go about and learn the regular alphabet, but also learned the vowels in Arabic context as well, in which my mentor said would be equally as important to learn as well. This brings me to my mentor and one of my best friends since middle school. Her name is Serene Hilo. She is Muslim and speaks and writes Arabic as it is what she grew up speaking, meaning that she is very fluent in the language. She also teaches the language to students at an Arabic school back at home, so I figure that she is a perfect fit for what I am trying to accomplish here. I also chose her to be my mentor because she is a student here at UF, which makes it easy for me to get in contact and meet in person to give me in-person feedback. With Serene as my mentor, I feel that I can mess up and be open with my struggles and still get reliable and honest feedback. Lastly, she is also the one who got me wanting to learn the language and inspired me to want to learn Arabic and see me grow within the language. So this brings me to my first trials of writing the language and trying to understand what the letters mean. I will now show you images of all my trials, seeing many improvements in the writing and how I understand what each letter should accurately look like. Now here is my final trial in writing the Arabic alphabet. So, now that I have tried my personal growth project and after multiple trials, I have definitely learned how to write the language. However, the speaking of the alphabet has been fairly difficult, and I am in need of further practice and guidance at the end of it all. So now for the feedback that I have received from Serene throughout the process. With us being good friends, I feel like she was very open and honest with me and wasn't afraid to hold back on anything, which I really appreciated. From the first trial, the feedback was very informative to me in that she was very critical about me not doing it right and being very stiff in writing all the letters. And it was very challenging to me in that it took about 15 minutes to write the alphabet the first time around. During this, she was very annoyed but accepting that I wasn't getting it due to it being so different than the written form of English. During my first try, she was very informative in telling me that I needed to loosen up and have a looser grip on my pen. Due to me needing more of a flow than straight lines and perfect dots, etc., she also was very dominant in telling me that I needed to be able to make it neater and looking like a single letter with some of them. She expressed that I need to practice at least 4 times to really be able to start getting it and being able to write it correctly. After this trial, I was very annoyed by the feedback as I was expecting and wanted perfect feedback. And it wasn't at all. So I was annoyed and even argued some of the points she brought up. During this time, I also felt she was being critical and I felt she made me feel like I should have gotten it the first time around in what needed to be done and too demanding in what changes needed to be done. After a few more trials, she started to see my improvements and give me a few recommendations onto where I needed them, such as some symbols needing a line over the top, in which was straight and not a swiggle. I was also writing my letters very large, and they were looking more like weird symbols instead of an actual letter. But as my trials went on, this improved, and she expressed it. Through these trials, I felt very effective and handled feedback very well by listening and communicating with her. And I appreciate her comments in that after her first feedback, it really helped me to grow. On my last trial, she was very positive in that she could read all my letters and they had made sense and looked proper. I tried to start to pronounce them, but that was a large struggle, and that will need to be continued when I am going to start to learn to speak it and be able to learn entire words and write entire words. However, my writing was a success in the end after multiple trials. I agreed with her feedback and was very happy to hear that I finally mastered writing the alphabet. 5 topics that I had related to the course during and after my project was very surprising to me. First, I can relate the topic of Clifton's strengths and how my strengths came out when trying to learn and accomplish my goal of writing the Arabic alphabet. Some of my most prominent strengths, such as being an achiever and having focus. With being an achiever came that I was very driven in what I was doing and getting to a positive end result. Also, having focus, I noticed this in being able to follow through with all the corrections necessary and also making the corrections that are necessary to achieve in writing the alphabet. Second, I can relate my values, but in specific, 2 of my top 5 came through, being excellence and determination. This came through due to my drive and being able to keep trying multiple times to get the best result and nail down writing Arabic. And through these trials, determination in getting the perfect end result expresses my value of excellence. Third, I found myself doing a lot of listening, in which I always had issues with. I was able to utilize effective listening through attentive and reflective listening a lot and really came to understand the listening process. I first used this listening when she was giving me feedback. I would not interrupt and always made eye contact with her to really understand my flaws, but sometimes became argumentative because I didn't like what I was hearing. This brings me to reflective listening, in which I would say I really listened and reflected on her feedback, taking in the cues that she provided and drawing a conclusion on my writing. Fourth, I can connect feedback to my personal growth project. There was a lot of this theme throughout my project process. At the beginning, I got a lot of negative process feedback and negative outcome feedback, in which was Serene telling me what's going wrong during the process of me writing it and how I can change it to be better before the end. However, the first few times it didn't turn out to lead to negative outcome feedback, where the completed task was not good and needed improvements. But then, towards the end, I ended up receiving positive outcome feedback when I started being able to do well with my writing. Fifth, I can relate followership, and that I and my mentor agreed that I was an exemplary follower. I was very active in the process while being independent and utilizing my critical thinking. I was very goal-focused in that I would learn to write this language to the best of my ability. I took initiative to practice and do more trials than necessary to really master the task, etc. Lastly, I can also relate the learnings of conflict management throughout my project. In the beginning, I didn't think that I was doing it wrong and pulled up online sources of the Arabic alphabet and showed her how mine looked in comparison, and she wouldn't agree at all. We both got very testy and annoyed with one another, which had created a very heated environment. She wanted my lines to be straight, but it showed wiggly lines in the letters and different dots. She handles conflict as a computer, in which she knows what she wants and will aim to get it, and whereas I'm a problem solver and try to give everyone what they want, or at least a little of what each want. So I suggested that can't the dots be one way and the lines I will do straight, in which she agreed upon after a while, which shows my skill and hers still agreeing with her way in doing the lines and dots the same. So she was very stuck to what she wanted, but I mitigated, and we both came to a mutual agreement. I learned a lot about myself throughout doing this project, in which I was shocked about some of what came up. First was that I am really not good at taking and handling feedback at all, and when it feels like I am being criticized and are not doing it right. I think about this because it is something that I should have been super open to, because it is something that I knew nothing about. I also learned that handwriting is also a challenge of mine, and where it is difficult to understand my handwriting, even in English, and which made it even harder in this scenario. I also learned that I don't have patience and am always looking for immediate satisfaction, which is not always possible, especially when trying to write a foreign language to oneself. I also saw my motivation come through when doing this project, in which I learned is stronger than I thought initially. I was continuously trying to get better and motivated to master the writing of the Arabic alphabet. Additionally, I will use what I have learned about myself so much in my future. I will be more open to the feedback that this is because I will have positions and careers in my future that I will not be used to, and I will then need to accept feedback in how I am doing in order to improve and grow in the position overall. I will also use this to my benefit in accomplishing my long-term goal of knowing many languages, in which being able to speak Arabic one day, in which I am a few steps closer to, will help me in communicating with clients wanting to be a lawyer in my future. This also goes to prove that I do like learning languages and gives me more drive to continue on in accomplishing my goal. I have also learned that my handwriting and the way I write is a big barrier in others understanding what I am writing and just seeing what it says. So I will use technology and typing in every situation that I can due to my barrier of unclear handwriting. Lastly, this project has taught me a lot about my leadership ability. It has taught me ways such as that a mentor is really needed and helps to accomplish tasks as a mentee, but also to always continue to learn, whether it's from a leader or follower. But also I learned that the way you give feedback and accept it is critical in a relationship between a leader and follower or mentor and mentee. It gave me an understanding that when I give feedback, I will be very cautious in what I say to someone and making sure it's not very criticizing, and which is how I felt when getting my feedback. I feel if she wasn't my best friend, it would have hurt a lot more than it actually did. So I will be aware of that when I'm in that position. It also taught me that I really like learning new things that will help me grow in my future. When doing this, I also saw how much engagement plays a role in which I will implement on all of my teams. When engaged, I was able to ask necessary questions about the language, which allowed me to improve, and I can relate to my future success. Having this willingness to learn and be open in my struggles equal to massive growth with the alphabet. Thank you for your time.